First of all, let me say that I am very delighted to be here representing the Birmingham Progressive Christian Alliance. We're one of the 40 organizations that are part of the SOS Movement for Justice and Democracy that has put together this Moral Monday action, and it's been a great success and full of great spirit. And we appreciate Fire Rose Sanders and her energy and leadership to get us all together to be here and to make these statements. And I would like to take a text for my comments today, and that text is Joshua 5:9. Joshua 5:9. And the Lord said, "Today I remove from you the reproach of Egypt." Today I remove from you the reproach of Egypt. Now you all remember what the reproach of Egypt was, don't you?
Teach us.
The reproach of Egypt was a Pharaoh came into power that didn't know Joseph. Y'all remember Joseph, don't you? When he was the governor of Egypt, everybody had food, everybody had peace, everybody had a meaningful place in the society, and there was justice and community and hope. But what happened when the Pharaoh took over that didn't know Joseph? Y'all remember that? Remember what happened to the Hebrew children? They dealt with them treacherously. They enslaved them. They began to choose to kill the Hebrew boys. You remember? And to destroy the people and to put heavy taskmasters over them. Well, brothers and sisters, we're so grateful that Joshua could say there at Jericho that God had removed the reproach of Egypt from his people. And at that time, they quit eating manna. They quit getting charity from heaven, and they got justice from the land, right? They started eating the crops and the wheat and the honey, and they lived in a land that was flowing from milk and honey. Well, brothers and sisters, we have a serious reproach in Alabama.
All right.
A serious reproach. Y'all know the history of that reproach, don't you? We've had slavery in Alabama.
Right. Terrible slavery.
Terrible slavery, some of the worst in human history.
That's right. Right in Alabama.
Chattel slavery. Right here in Alabama, right here where we're standing, was the heart of the power that supported, fought for, and instituted that slavery. And when slavery was supposedly ended, and during Reconstruction, when there was some hope that the reproach would be removed from Alabama, y'all remember that? The populist movement, when all of that was happening. And then, of course, you know what happened then? The reproach grew. And we had Jim Crow. Laws on the state that dehumanized people of color and the poor. Laws that segregated the rich white folks from the poor white folks. Laws that segregated, and it's happening now, rich black folks from poor black folks.
That's right.
Jim Crow still at work with that. Laws that segregated, as Dr. King said, the church from Christianity.
Come on with it. Woo! Getting it down there.
And it segregated everything from black folks. And then we've been living under that Jim Crow. And 50 years ago, we know the awesome human beings that God raised up in Alabama.
Right.
Rosa Parks, Fred Shuttlesworth, Martin King, and countless others who fought to eliminate Jim Crow. And they came to these steps here. You know, it'll be 51 years next year, 50 years next year when they vote. And all of this reproach is still on Alabama.
Yes.
And we're still fighting Jim Crow.
That's right.
Yes.
And
We need to understand what we're still fighting.
Jim Bentley.
And so when you hear that in Alabama there are 250,000 people to 300,000 people that have been denied health care by a governor who all he has to do is pick up a pen
Yes.
and sign a paper,
That's all.
a governor that's causing 10,000 people this year, every year,
Presidential.
to have unbelievably extended suffering and premature death.
Yes.
You know, we've got
Stop the killing.
Jeffrey is down there in a coffin at the foot of the hill.
Yes.
And get the numbers of people in Alabama that have prematurely gone to the coffin and the grave because of Governor Bentley's unwillingness to sign the paper
Yes.
to expand Medicaid. Now, brothers and sisters, that's a Jim Crow decision.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
There is nothing at the root of that decision except Jim Crow, except a lie and an attitude that would define poor people and people of color as less than human and not deserving of health care.
That's right.
And we have got to change that.
Yes.
Governor Bentley's got to change that.
Yes.
We have got to move forward in Alabama. We've got to come to the place, and that's where we've come. We're standing here today before the powers of Alabama.
Yes.
Those powers that still are in a ruling relationship with the people as a Pharaoh who didn't know Joseph.
Yes.
A Pharaoh, we have leaders who don't know Joseph or Moses or Joshua or
Jesus.
Isaiah or Amos or Jesus or any of the prophets.
All right.
They have, and that reason is Jim Crow segregates our minds from honest thinking. It confuses us. The civil rights leaders in Birmingham say the only way you can say that somebody's less than human and not deserving of health care is that you're insane.
All right.
You can't think.
We got a
You
governor
don't
that's insane.
understand. Yes, we do. We got a governor that can't think honestly because he's still infected with that prejudicial bird of Jim Crow.
Yes. All right.
And we've come here today. We've been here all week, and we're going to be here tomorrow, and we ain't going away. We're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep marching.
Yes.
We're going to keep working.
Yep.
It is a denial of all of the teachings of God about human dignity and justice and freedom and worth to deny people health care,
Yes.
to deny people access to first-class education, to deny people access to a living wage and meaningful work. We understand that, don't we?
We understand.
And we got to spread the word.
All right.
And we got to keep marching.
Yes. All right.
You know, if you haven't read this book by Dr. King, The Call to Conscience,
Yes.
and you hadn't read his sermon in here on the great speech he made on these steps, be 50 years ago next year,
Buttons.
you got to read it. I don't have time to teach you about the history of Jim Crow. You probably already know it.
We know we lived
Living
it.
it.
But we live in it, but we're not defeating it. We got to work hard. We got to call on the Spirit. We got to move forward. We got to march on poverty, as Dr. King said. Alabama is a land of plenty. There's plenty here for everybody.
Right.
But all that exists in Alabama now is the greed of our governor and the poverty of our people of color and poor folks in this state. We got to march on poverty till we get a living wage. We got to march on poverty till we get quality housing. We got to march on poverty till we get health care. If you don't have health care and you get sick, you're poor, right?
Right.
You're destroyed. And then finally, we got to march on the ballot box.
Well,
Yes.
right.
The greatest indicator that the reproach of Egypt has not been removed from Alabama is the fact that we don't vote.
Amen.
All right. That's it.
Dr. King, all the awesome leaders from Selma and all over the country got the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And yet we're still not voting.
Still not voting.
And the only reason we can't be voting is because Jim Crow has segregated our minds from honest
Come
thinking.
on now.
Yes.
This land is our land.
Yes.
This is our land. It belongs to the people. It belongs to all of us. And we can govern this land. These beautiful ladies sitting over here would make an awesome governor,
All right. Yes.
right?
All right.
They know how to govern.
Yes.
They know how to raise a family. Generations raise families with integrity and dignity, with hardly a penny in their pocket.
Right.
They could run this state so it would be a great land,
I think so.
so it'd be a land of plenty.
I think so.
We have got to march on the ballot box. We have got to remove the reproach from our minds of Jim Crow, that somehow or another we are not worth being governors. But brothers and sisters, we are kings and queens.
Yes. That's right.
And we got to come out to the poll. And if you don't know who to vote for, well, write in your own name and
That's
vote
it.
for that. Put it in the ballot box. But we need 90, 100% turnout to vote.
Right. We do.
Yes.
We need that.
And when we get it, they'll pay attention to us.
That's right.
That's right.
Now Joshua said, we got to remove, he said the Lord had removed the reproach
We got to do it.
of Egypt from the Hebrew children at Jericho. Now we don't want to wait another 50 years.
We can't. We can't.
We can't wait another 50 years.
Wait another year.
We need to know that the reproach has been removed from Alabama today, and that we are free to claim our dignity and worth, and take our land and rule it and govern it with justice and peace and dignity. And the first step toward that is expanding Medicaid.
Thank you.
Expanding Medicaid. Thank you all. God bless you.
Right now.
Thank you, Reverend Hill.